Hey, everybody. So each year I do an end of year. This is what happened in the real estate market. So I wanted to go through that here in 2024. So obviously it's the beginning of January 2025. And so let's take a look at some of these slides. So we ended the year up 8.6% as far as median sales price. So 300,000. As you can see, we have peaked before. We've done about 315,000, and it is very seasonal for us to go up, obviously in the spring and summer, and then that starts to come down towards the fall and winter. And as you can see, this is through the last since 2017. So we're looking at 7 years of data. This is very par for the course. So let's go on to the next slide here. Closed sales. So we were actually up 8.8% in closed sales from where we were previously, 2,241. And then recently at 2,439. And so you can see there is a dip every single year in December and January, and then it just shoots back up. So even though we've had so many changes since COVID and just the craziness from that and the real estate market and such low interest rates, even looking back to 2017, we have seen just this very cyclical up and down and up and down. And so some of this is somewhat normal. Percent of list price received. If you take out the anomaly years for COVID, kind of those unicorn years, we ended up just slightly higher than what we did last year. Last year was 97.5% of list price received. We ended at 97.8%. So we get a lot of questions. Is it best to buy a home in the spring and summer market or in the winter? And actually from this data, there's usually about a 2% delta, 2% difference between buying at least list price to sales price ratio in the spring and summer months from the winter. Does that always equate to a lower price? No, not necessarily. There's going to be more inventory. It's going to be more buyers. But it is a little bit of a good statistic for us to be able to look at and to be able to show consumers. And then percent closed above list price, as you can see, always in the spring and summer months, we're closing above asking price. And then we usually dip down slower into the winter months. Days on market, average days on market. Again, you can see the trends here. We finished at 24, which was slightly higher than what it was the year prior. But usually this is January. Every one of these is January, and then it takes a sharp decline. So we will be back to, pretty close to single digits here in about 2 months. New listings slightly up from where we were last year, actually only about 40 more listings. And again, it bottoms out in January every single year, and then it just shoots right back up. So really hoping that we start seeing more listings come in the next couple months, which is typically what we see. This is about the percent of distressed listings. This is bank owns, REOs, HUD homes. So as you can see, we are at very, very, very low amounts. I've been doing this for 13 years, and even back in 2017, it was still low, even though it was at 7%. So we were at 1.3% of the market, whereas this time last year we were at 1.0. And that's a little bit of a good indicator as to, are we going to see a lot of bank owns and things like that coming on the market? The data shows no. However, the one thing to keep in mind of right now is consumer credit card debt. So that is definitely an indicator that could lead to some of these distressed listings actually going up higher. So this is new pending sales. This is probably my favorite and then the most informative stat that we have. So this is new pending sales, the number of properties newly under contract. And so usually when we look at closed sales, we're looking back 45 days or so from the time it was pended until it actually closed. This gives us the most recent data. But what's interesting about this is that in 2018, so we did a difference between December to January. And in 2018, it was a 12.5% increase in inventory. So 1 month. And then 2019, it was 21.4%, 2020, 28.2, 2021, 13.2, 2022, it was almost 24%. And then 2023 was 23.5%. So for an average of 20.45. So average from December to January, we see a 20% increase in listings, which is huge. No other month has that throughout the year. So really, really exciting to see us, or not listings, pending sales. So that shows how many more homes are getting pended as people come out of holidays, things like that, just kind of getting back into the rhythm and actually starting to be more serious about purchasing properties. So this is pending sales looking back week by week over the last year. And so as you can see, it really starts to ramp up and then starts to, usually once we get around the summer, starts to get a little bit of a decline. And then around Thanksgiving, it really takes a sharp decline from there. But like I said, it picks right back up, usually that second week of January, which is where we are. Unsold, this would be withdrawals, cancels, expired. So we are starting to see more of those. We're up 13% from where we were the previous year. This still isn't anything crazy, especially taking into consideration a lot of listing agents, they will end their contract at the end of the year, 12/31. And so we see that happen. Every one of these is New Year's Eve is when these are expiring. So nothing that's too crazy there. Pending fallouts. This is an interesting one. We've not seen this. We saw it 2 years in a row, but it's much higher. It's about double of what it previously is. Pending fallouts is the number of listings that move from pending to any status other than closed. Is this buyer's remorse? Is this people moving too quickly and then deciding that they're not actually interested in this house? There's a few different factors that can come in with that, but that's one that we have not seen until the last couple years. And this is just what MIBOR recorded for the interest rate. So this is the 30-year interest rate. And so as you can see, looking back to 2017, we were at 4%. We had that stint where we were, 2.5% or so. So obviously much higher than where we have been, still anything below 5% is considered low. Will we come back to 5% anytime soon? I don't think so. I really don't think so. For the last 3 years, we have been hearing from every real estate economist that this next year is going to be the year that we dip down into the 6. And there was a low time in February of 2024 where we actually did get to that, but it shot right back up. And so there's too much that's kind of going on and trying to cool down inflation. So this is year over year, or this is week by week for the last year. So you can kind of see the trends, and not February. I meant back here in September, October. We got down to about 6%, and then it shot back up with some of the inflation numbers that we had saw. And then here's just a few helpful statistics. So a median home buyer last year was 49. This year it's 56 years old. That is an all-time high for the average age of a buyer. And then the first-time home buyer age went up from 35 to 38 years old. And then 73% of buyers did not have a child on the age of 18 in their home. This is the highest share recorded. These are national numbers. And then all cash buyers, 26% of all transactions are done in cash. That's an all-time high. 17% of buyers purchased a multi-generational home. This is the highest share recorded. Lots of parents are coming in-laws, staying in homes. Even a lot of new construction is being built with an in-law suite or another primary bedroom on the main level, primary suite. So we're seeing 17% of buyers doing that. First-time home buyers actually went down. They made up 32% of the market last year, and this year it was 24%. So that is a all-time low. And buyers typically are viewing 7 homes, and 2 of those homes were only viewed online. So 5 in person and then 2 online. Typical age of sellers is 63 years old. That's the highest share recorded. And again, 77% of those did not have children under the age of 18 residing in the home. And then the median home of years a seller owned their home was 10 years. Previously, we'd always heard that number was around 7 or 8. And in 2000, 2008, it was 6 years. And so it's actually gone up to 10 years now. And a lot of that has to do with interest rates that we've seen over the last few years, people waiting, because they've got 2.5% interest rate. And so completely understand that. For sale by owners, record low, only 6% of transactions were for sale by owners. So with all of the new technology, even with some NAR stuff, DOJ, still only 6%. This is the lowest it was ever recorded in a year for sale by owners. And then 66% of sellers used an agent that was referred to them or used the agent they worked with in the past to buy a home. And I thought this was really interesting. And so this NAR did this. And then I also recently saw one from Zillow where they placed Indiana at third. And so here I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the top 10 housing spots for 2025. So these are in order. So the Indianapolis market made sixth. And then here's why. Here's their methodology for this. So share of locked-in homeowners, average mortgage rate, job growth, share of millennial renters who can afford to buy a home, net migration to population ratio, share of households reaching home buying age in the next 5 years, share of out-of-state movers purchasing a home, share of homeowners surpassing the average length tenure, share of starter owner-occupied homes, and home price appreciation. So really good news for the Indianapolis market. And then this is the NAR economist. This is what they are predicting. Expect 6 to 8 rounds of cut to Fed funds rate, but mortgage rates may not fall. That does not always mean, it typically does not mean that mortgage rates are going to follow with the 10-year treasury. So there's a lot of numbers, and take this with a grain of sand. This can absolutely change. We thought we were going to see multiple cuts by the end of 2024. I think we saw 2. It looked like they were going to do multiple in 2025. And then just recently we got some job data that came out, and it contradicts that. And so we have to play it month by month. We're just not sure that's going to happen. And anybody that says they know, they're lying. So mortgage rates can fall if Trump ramps up home construction. So this is the housing starts for single family and multifamily. So as you can see, even though it looks like, and this is national, so here we are in the Midwest, this is somewhat pretty similar too, but there's areas where it looks like tons of new construction is going on. Well, if you look at the difference, we're still trying to catch up with where we missed out after the Great Recession. So we're nowhere near the house starts for single family that we were previously. And mortgage rates can fall if Trump brings people back to the labor force. You see, after COVID, there was just quite a people that just decided to retire, decided to leave the labor force, and that left us into some issues. And so these are predictions from NAR. Again, I do not subscribe to this. This is not my opinion. But here's what they're recommending. They're thinking that existing home sales will be up by 9%. New home sales will be up 11%. Median home price will go up 2%, even though in the Midwest we saw 9%. So I think that number is closer to 9%. Mortgage rate near 6%. I don't think so. I think 6.5 is probably my best guess. Job gains, nearly 2 million. So use this as a little bit of a guide. You have to watch when the Fed meets, what they're going to say. You got to listen to some of the language that they're using. So if you have any questions about this data, please let me know. I hope this is helpful. I know this was a longer video than I typically do, but I think it's very helpful for you to be informed on what's going on in the real estate and housing markets. If you have any questions, please let me know. And thanks for taking the time to watch this.